Okay, welcome. We're now on lecture 1.2, part 2, the second half of fractions. All right, so now we're talking about adding and subtracting fractions. This is the hardest part because you always have to remember common denominator. If you don't have a common denominator, you cannot add them or subtract them. Okay, so with the same denominator, it's really quite simple. You merely add the numerators and put it over the common denominator. So this is going to be 2 over 5, 1 plus 1. All right, now, with different denominators, you have to make the same denominator. All right, so to do that, I'm going to have to multiply this by 3 over 3 and the first term by 5 over 5. This is going to give me 5 over 15 plus 6 over 15. So I add the numerators, put them over the common denominator. So my final answer would be 11 over 15. Now, as you get comfortable doing this, we can shortcut some of those steps. All right. Okay, now we're talking about the lowest common denominator. Okay. First, number 1 here for rules, find the least common denominator. Express each fraction as an equivalent fraction with the same LCD, lowest least common denominator. Okay, now, one method is the multiple method. You take the larger denominator, look at multiples until you find one that is divisible by the smaller denominator. This is the least common denominator. Okay, so let's try that. Take the larger denominator for this first question, it's going to be the 8. So we take 8, and we're going to look for something that is divisible by 6. So 8 times 2 is 16. Nope, 8 times 3 is 24. Sure enough, this is 4 times 6, so it is divisible by 6. So 24 would be my lowest common denominator for this particular term. So I'm going to convert them both into numbers with a base of 24. So I multiply this by 3 over 3 because that's going to give me 3 times 8 is 24. And this one by 4 over 4 because 6 times 4 is 24. This is going to end up with 3 plus 20, and my common denominator was 24. So I end up with 23 over 24 as my answer. All right, let's look at number 2. All right, so multiples of 7 that are also a multiple of 5. Well, there's only going to be 7 times 5, so 35. But we can check that out by doing all the different multiples. Multiples of 7 would be 14, 21, 28, 35. Sure enough, that's the only one that's divisible by 5. So now we know that our common denominator is going to be 35. All right, this needed 5 over 5, and this needed 7 over 7. 7 times 4 is 28, and we're subtracting 3 times 5, or 15. 28 minus 15 is going to be 13. So this would be my final answer. Okay, now we're looking at number 3 here. All right, so 15 times 2 is 30. 30 is divisible by 10, so that's my lowest common denominator, which means this needs to be multiplied by 2 over 2 and this by 3 over 3. So I've got 22 plus 3 times 3 is 9 over my 30, which is my common denominator. 22 plus 9 is 31 over 30. And that's my answer. Okay, when I look at 21 and 6, they don't multiply, but 2 times 21 is 42, which is 6 times 7. All right, so that means 21 needs to be multiplied by 2 over 2, and 6 needs to be multiplied by 7 over 7. So we end up with 2 times 20 is 40, minus 5 times 7 is 35. This is all over the 42. This is going to give me 5 over 42 for my answer. All right, so hopefully that made sense to everybody. All right, now we're going to move on to the next page. All right, here's method 2. This is my personal favorite. You prime factor each of the denominators. Select one of the prime factorizations and compare it to the other one. This is going to be easier to see it than read it to you. So, 20 is 4 times 5. So, this is going to need to be multiplied by 4 in order for this to be a 20. So I have 7 minus 4 over 20, 3 over 20. 48 and 40. Let's see, that's 4 times 10. Oh, wait, no, better. 40 is 8 times 5. 48 is 8 times 6. So that means that this side has to be multiplied by 5 and this one by 6. So I'm going to get 5 times 9 is 45. Plus 7 times 6 is 42. Over my common denominator. Now, what is the common denominator on this one? Well, it's going to be 8 times 6 times 5. I don't need that second 8 because it's already being represented by the first 8. So, let's see, that's 6 times 5 is 30. 8 30s is 200. Whoops, sorry about that. 8 30s is 240. 45 plus 42 is 87 over 240. Okay. (17 over 18 minus 5 over 12). Well, 18 is 3 times 6 and 12 is 2 times 6. So this, my denominator is going to have the 6, but I have to have the 2 and the 3 also. That's my greatest common denominator. Sorry, I should have made that smaller. Go away. All right, sorry, so I'm going to get it bigger. So, since I have two 6's, my common denominator is going to be 6 times, and then I need the 3 and the 2. Well, that's 36. That's 6 times 6. So, this has to be multiplied by 2 over 2, and this one by 3's. So I have 34, 2 times 17, minus 15, 5 times 3, over this common denominator of 36. 34 minus 15 is 19. And there we go. All right. 60 and 45. 45 is 3 times 15, and 60 is 4 times 15. So my common denominator is going to have a 15, but it's also going to have the 4 and the 3. Okay, so that's 15 times 12, which is going to be 180. All right, So the 45 needs the 4, and the 11 needs the 60 needs the 3. The extra 3, I should say. All right, 11 times 3 is 33, minus 2 times 4, which is 8, and my common denominator is 180. 33 minus 8 is 25. Now notice, I was about to circle those. They both would be divisible by 5. 1 by 5, 1 by 10, so obviously the 10 can also be 5. So, let's see what that is. I end up with 5 times 5 for the 25. And 180, if I divide it by 10, is 18 times 10, which is 2 times 5. So I end up with 5 over 36 as my simplified answer. Determine if the following are solutions to the equation. 1 and 2/7. Well, first I'm going to turn this into a mixed or improper fraction. 1 times 7 is 7, plus 2 is 9. All right, so I have 9 over 7 minus 2 over 9 times 9 over 7. The question is, does that equal 1? Well, in this multiplication, I now have 9 over 7 minus 2 over 7. That I can do. 9 minus 2 is 7. Sure enough, 7 over 7 is 1, so the answer would be yes. Okay, here we have W is 3/20. So I have 1/5 minus 3/20. The question is, does that equal 1/3 times 3/20? Well, first off, notice I can change that into 1 over 20. Okay. To get the 5 into 20s, I'm going to need to multiply both by 4. So this now gives me 4 over 20 minus 3 over 20. Does that equal 1 over 20? Well, 4 minus 3 is 1, so yes, it does. All right, and I think that is it for today's lecture. All right, get your homework done and get it uploaded. Thanks. Bye-bye.